Welcome back. We're going to do something different now. Now we're going to make a game. We're going to make a whack-a-mole game. So if I go here, whack-a-mole online game. Let's take a look how that looks like. It's a known type of a game. Basically, a mole comes out of the ground and you just need to smack it with something and you get points, etc. So how does it look like? Something like this. Okay. And we're going to make something like that. Okay, so let's get started. Why don't we open our documents again to the game folder. I have a bunch of things here that I can get rid of. You should only have the CPS and HTML and CSS. And we're going to start with these files, we're going to edit them, and we're going to turn them into the mole game. The first thing we got to do is we got to create a new folder. Okay, so right click, new folder, and let's call it whack-a-mole wham game. Call this folder like that, and take these files and move them to that folder. Actually, rather than move, maybe let's just select all the files and copy them. So right click, copy, then go to this folder and paste. Okay, so why don't you do that now? Pause the video and come back. Okay, then we need to change the names of these files because this is no longer a click per second. So right click on the file, rename, and whack-a-mole, W-A-M. And the same thing here. Oh, I should have renamed them all. I didn't know that was even possible. Pretty cool. So if you select both files, you can rename them all. And now let's open them in Visual Studio. So right click, open with Visual Studio 2022. And same with this. You can actually just, you know what, drag it and open it. So go ahead and do that now. Okay, so let's begin. We're gonna have to clean this up a little bit because this is, you know, the clicks per second. So we gotta maybe clean it up so that it doesn't say wrong things. So what can we change? First of all, let's change this Greg's game. Let's call it whack-a-mole. And maybe here, clicks per second, say whack-a-mole game. Okay, save that. And well, let's see how that looks. So again, we go here, we right click the HTML file, open with, and again, let's use Microsoft Edge. My Microsoft Edge just dies like this for some reason, so I have to open it and then do this, just the way it is. And look at that, it's not showing up correctly. Why could that be? Well, it looks like it's missing the CSS file. And as you probably can figure out, the reason why it's missing the CSS file is because we're pointing to a cps.css, and we renamed that to whack-a-mole. So if I save this and I go to here, refresh at 5, whack-a-mole game, whack-a-mole, great. So go ahead and make those changes now. I'll again do a screenshot and I'll highlight the things I need to change. And try to keep the descriptions for now the same as what I'm doing. Later on, you can make them different. So you want to change the title, you want to change this, and you want to change that. So come back when you're done. Okay, so open up on the side so you can have it here. When you're making changes to files, you want to make sure you have the window, the browser open, and you want to kind of check everything you do, because if you make a bunch of changes and it suddenly breaks, you don't quite know what could have been that caused it. So make a change and then see if it works. Why don't we also change this message, because clearly this does not make sense for our game. Okay, so let's make this a little bit like this. So this is the message, you know, calculate your CPS. Why don't we say something like, let's remove all of this and say something like, How about this? Whack-a-mole, whack-a-mole, whack-a-mole. How about this thing? Whack-a-mole, get more hits than misses. Okay, so we're gonna have the game where you either hit them all or you missed it. We're gonna make it simple for now. And maybe we'll put something like, maybe, I'll show you, you know what? Maybe let's just say, click start when ready. Okay, let's save that. And again, I saved that and I'm going to go ahead and refresh that. And here it is to make sure it's correct. So go ahead, change the text to something like that. Again, try not to be, too silly. Try to keep the wording to what I put because later on in the lessons it will matter. So try to keep it as close to this as possible. So come back when you're finished. Okay, we also have the click me. Well, we want this to be start. So why don't we just say start? Okay, save, refresh. Okay, so now it's going to say start. So that's okay, but again, it's a pretty big start button. We could make it smaller, maybe like that. Also, take a look. We have a start button, but it has an ID called click me. So maybe we should change the ID because this ID is the name, so to speak, of this whole HTML element. So it'd be doesn't make sense to call it click me. So why don't we change it to start? But when you change something like that, and you save and you come back here and you refresh, you realize that something is amok. So the start is no longer a button. Why is that? And also it doesn't work. If I click on that, nothing works. And the reason why is because we were referring to this element by the name click me in a couple of places. So we got to find them and change them. But first, go ahead and make this change. Put start here and put ID start. Come back when you're done. Okay, so we know that it used to be called click me. So what we can do is press Control F or edit, and where is the find file? Oh boy, I lost it. Anyway, press Control F. Control F allows you to search for a characters or sentence or something inside this file. So say click me. And it's going to show you highlight everywhere where the word click me is shown. So for example here, so we know we have to change that. So let me close this. So this click me was when we were getting a reference to the element. So this get element by ID gave us a reference to this div. And then we added an event listener. We said whenever a person clicks on the button, call this function click me, which is defined here. So this will no longer work because when we try to do get element by ID, it will not be found. In fact, if I come back here and let's make it full screen, if I open developer tools, again, that's F12, or you can do right click and inspect, both will do. If you do that, you will notice that there is this red X. And red X means some kind of an error has occurred. If you click it, it's going to show you the errors here. Okay? Cannot read properties of null. By the way, null means nothing. That's what it means. So it's not finding something. Well, what is it? Well, you can actually click on, it's telling you which file it is in. It is saying it is in wham.html, line 20, character 39. So if I click on this, it will take me to the actual code. So let me see, I clicked it here, and I can actually see this is, underlined in red. Why? It's because, well, we're trying to add an event listener for something that doesn't exist. This thing just doesn't exist. And this is why we're getting this error. So if you have a chance, do the same thing. Leave this the way it is. Open in full screen, refresh this page, press F12 to get this developer tools, and track down the error to the actual line. It's just an exercise that will help you if you're doing development later on. It will help you find bugs in your code. So stop the video for now. Get this, get this looking this way so you can kind of feel comfortable around this. It's an optional thing. You don't have to do it, but I would recommend you do. And come back when you're finished. Okay, so let's get back. So we know we have to change this click me to start. So I'm going to so by the way, if you notice, if you double click on certain things, it highlights the entire word. So I can just double click and right click, copy. Then I'll double click to select this whole thing, right click, paste. And now it should work. So let me save. Let me refresh. And now if I click start, it should be working. So let me try that. Yep, it is working the way it was before, so I can click this. But it doesn't look good. So go ahead and fix this by changing this get element by ID to start and come back when you're done. So the start button works, but it doesn't look right. And as you probably remember, we would put a style on this div, this button, in our CSS file. So we have to change from onClick to start in the CSS file as well. So let me go into the CSS file, and here is the click me. So if I change it to start and I save this, then I come back here and refresh, it should be working. And again, great, we got it working. So go ahead and change this to start and then refresh your browser to make sure it's working. Come back when you're ready. Also, the start button is very large. Now that doesn't make much sense. When we're doing our click tester, then obviously it's good that the clickable area is so big, but for a button it's pretty big. So why don't I make it a little bit smaller? So as you can see, we put height of 100. What if we put height of 30? And again, I always, whenever I make a change, I save, I come back here, and I F5 to refresh. It's like, okay, I kind of like this button height, but I lost the text. And the reason why is because I forgot that I have to change the line height. This means the height of the text inside it. So I'm going to change it to 30 as well. Save, refresh. Well, that's about right. And maybe, the font size is a little bit too big. It's a pretty big font here, start. So why don't we maybe change the font to, where's the font? Here it is, to 20. Okay, so go ahead and make those changes. I will highlight them for you. Change the height to 30. Actually, we're going to show it 30. Change the line height to 30, and change the font to 20. Go ahead, come back when you're done. Right, so I think we got the button looking pretty good. I forgot if I actually refresh this. Okay, this looks now better. Okay, so now it's looking better. So let's test it out. So if I refresh here, I get the message whack-a-mole, get more hits than misses, click start when ready. When I click start, that message disappears. And the reason why is because it's replaced by this number of clicks. So why don't we go to the code and remove that? So let me go to the HTML. So our message whack-a-mole is a div with ID message. And again, if I double click on it, it will automatically highlight every other instance where we have this text message. So I can easily see, aha, here is where I replace the text inside the message div. So inside this whole thing, I replace the inner text, that means text inside, with this whole number of clicks. So I don't want that because we're not going to be doing this. So I'm going to remove this. I'm going to save it. And I'll come back here, refresh, and let's see. If I click start, oh good, the message is still there. So go ahead and make that change. That means I need you to get rid of this line. Okay, just remove it. All right. right, so let's remove it again. This is how your code should look like now. We probably also want to get rid of this, message that says your CPS is 0.2, because obviously that doesn't make sense in the Whack-A game, in the Whack-A-Mole game. So let's get rid of that. Now, if you're wondering why we're kind of going through this, clicks per second files and then removing things rather than starting from scratch, the reason why is you find that it's very often better to start with something that you have before and then actually remove code you don't need to change it. Because you always would think to yourself, well, how again did I add an event listener? Well, you got an example of how you add an event listener right here. So that's why we're doing this. So let's remove this, your CPS is 0.02. Now, where does that happen? This happens right here. Your CPS is, and then we give the CPS. So what happens is that whole function. So we're not going to need that function at all, right? We're not going to, but let me double click on it and see where is this function used. Aha, this function is used by this timeout. So after 5 seconds, this function gets called. So what we need to do is get rid of this and get rid of that. So let me do that. Get rid of this. I'll get rid of that. I'm going to save, Control S, come back here, F5 to refresh, and let me see. I click Start, and I no longer have the CPS showing up after 5 seconds. Yes, correct. Okay, so go ahead and do the same thing. And I'll again take a screenshot, and I'll show you what you must do. Get rid of this. Oops. And get rid of all of this. Come back when you're ready. Okay, so we got rid of this, and we got rid of that. You should make sure you test your codes. Always come back here, refresh, make sure it's working. I think we are ready now. I think we've made the changes that we need, and now we're actually going to start building the game. So proceed to the next lecture, to the next video.